My name is Brian, and welcome to Next Gen Equipping, where our vision is to equip youth leaders to give their faith away to the next generation through helpful online resources. Today's video is part one of a two-part series of how to prepare for a winning fundraising appointment with a potential ministry partner. So take a few minutes and enjoy this video, and I hope you'll find it helpful. Today's video is going to be on how to prepare for a one-on-one visit with a potential ministry partner. My name is Brian, and I've been on staff with Youth for Christ. Specifically, I've been working with an outreach program to military-dependent teens. So I work with Campus Life Military, currently in Omaha, Nebraska, with the Greater Omaha Youth for Christ chapter. And this is a subject that I'm super passionate about because the value of regular, consistent monthly support is huge for sustainability in the field. And so in the course of time that we've been on staff, I estimate that about $1.6 million has come into our account that God has provided. And along that journey, as we've lived in 5 different homes, we've lived in 3 different countries, made 3 international moves, all in less than 14 years of marriage. We've lived in Germany, Italy, Texas, back in Germany, and now in Omaha. And over the course of the time, with all the money that we have had to raise with all of those different moves and just to keep ministry going, we've learned a few things along the way. And I want to be able to pass this along to you. And so if you're watching this video, you may be just coming on board with Youth for Christ, or maybe it's another parachurch organization, and you're just starving for any tips or golden nuggets of something that would just be helpful to you as you start this whole process. And so I just want to pass along some things that have been helpful for us. It may not be the only way to do it. In fact, I don't think it is. But it's a way that we have found helpful, and I think you could benefit from it as well. And so I'm just sharing that with you. Let me just start by stating the obvious, that change is hard. And so if you're just coming on, or maybe if you've been around for a while and monthly support has just been hard to do, let's just acknowledge the reality that change is hard. And so as we look at generating monthly support, it may be scary, it may be difficult, but I want to remind you of this quote here, this simple principle that being underfunded, or maybe relying too heavily on other people to do what only you are responsible for, is painful. It's painful to be underfunded. It's painful to call somebody up in another city and say, hey, can you set up a group and have people over for dessert, and I can share with them my ministry, and you release control of that meeting to somebody else, and you get there, you travel all those miles, you prepare, and the person doesn't quite come through for you, and nobody really shows up, and you've just wasted a lot of money and a lot of time trying to make this thing happen. And so being underfunded, relying too heavily on other people to do what only you are responsible for, is painful. And even though change is hard, and even though it's this may be a daunting task that you're looking at, just know this, that change happens when the pain of staying where you're at is greater than the pain of moving forward. And so know this, that it is hard to be underfunded and in the field at the same time. Ministry can be stressful, especially if you're looking at an overseas location. It is stressful, and you don't want to have to stress about your finances once you hit the ground ready to run. So let me just pass along a few tips, all right? So monthly support fundraising is a process. It's a journey that you are going to go on, and it's going to be awesome. God's going to take you through some amazing things. So the first thing is about monthly support raising is it is a discipline, okay? There are things that you're going to have to do that maybe you've never done before. There's practices that you're going to have to implement that maybe are new to you and a little bit stretching for you. It's a discipline, okay? And like any discipline, it takes a little bit of practice before you get good at it. But I promise you, if you stick with it long enough, it will eventually become a delight. And it'll be such a joy to share with other people where God is calling you, what He's calling you to, why you're uniquely qualified to do this, and why they should pray about and consider directing a portion of their tithes and offerings in your direction. And then when you do it long enough, it eventually becomes part of your DNA. Like you'll start to do this and you won't even realize that you're doing it, and it's fun. And so just know that it's a journey, it's a process, and that's okay. It's good. So I put together a short little presentation here. It's called the 3 M's for a successful appointment. And I promise you that if you put these 3 M's into practice, I think you will be very pleased with the results that you see. So the first M is this, and that's the simple math. You got to get to real, hard, concrete, objective numbers, okay? And the reason is this. It's because when you're going to go sit down with somebody, you cannot put out there pie in the sky numbers, all right? Because the principle is this, that pie in the sky will not fly. People can kind of sense when you are rounding things off a little bit. Okay, so what does that mean? What does that look like? What you need to do, if you're just coming on staff, you need to sit down with your supervisor or maybe your ministry director or whoever it is that's helping you formulate your budget. And you very quickly go through, carefully, you go through and you figure out what is it really going to cost to get you into the field and then keep you in the field, okay? You need to do that carefully with your ministry director, supervisor, or whoever's helping you formulate your budget. Do that carefully. All right, now, if you've been on staff for a long time and you have at least a 12-month history of fundraising, then you can take a look at your previous 12 months and take a look at your average inflow. Month to month, it's going to fluctuate a little bit, but what is the average amount of money that God is bringing into your account? And then figure out the average outflow. How much money is flowing out on any given year, on an average, okay? And then you figure out the difference. You subtract the difference. Now, if that difference is in the positive, you're probably not going to need to watch a video like this. But if you're watching this video, it might be because your accounts are consistently in the red and you need to change, right? Change is hard and the pain of staying where you're at is too great, and we need to move forward and learn some new skills so that we can be fully funded, which is huge, all right? So do the math. Figure out what it is you need and be as specific as you can. You don't need to share more information than is warranted, than is required. They don't need to know how much money you make. They don't need to know the nitty-gritty details, okay? And I'm saying this to you as someone who has sat across the table and other people have asked me to partner with them. Frankly, I don't care about that information. I just want to know what is the amount of money you need in order to get you there, whether it's monthly support, one-time gifts, whatever, especially if you're just coming on. So, math. Get to real hard, objective, concrete numbers. Why? Because pie in the sky won't fly with potential donors. The second M is the meeting and scheduling the meeting specifically, all right? So you've probably already begun to create a list of people that you know, people that you want to contact, acquaintances that you've acquired over the years, and you now want to call them and share with them what's going on. Maybe you've sent out even a ministry newsletter, an update already, letting folks know about what God is calling you to. And honestly, that's a great start. But if you're only relying on that letter and hoping that people actually open it, read it, and then are just inspired by the Lord, and they sit there and write out a check and they suddenly become a $100 or $200 a month supporter, honestly, it just doesn't work like that. People are busy, and it's not that they don't care. They're just super, super busy. And you need to get to a place, if it works, the most ideal situation is where you can sit down and give a one-on-one ask across the table with somebody. If that simply isn't possible, then a phone call would be the next best thing, or maybe a Zoom appointment would also work. Utilize the technology that's available to you. And in a worst case scenario, if the only thing that I can do is schedule a phone appointment with somebody, then that's what I got to do. But that's kind of my how I look at it. I really want to aim for that one-on-one sit down. Okay, so the goal with the scheduling the meeting is you want to set a specific date, time, and place where you meet. And here's the key. You cannot forget this. You need to tell them why you want to meet. What is the purpose for your visit? You need to tell them that so that there's no surprises, all right? Because sometimes, especially if this is a new skill that you're developing, asking people to support you can be a hard thing. And so if you can just, hey, this is why I want to meet. And let me just role play with you real quick. It might look something like this. You call up an old friend. and you say, hey, I'd love to reconnect and catch up with you again. It's been so long. And I'd also like to share with you what God has called me to and explore what a potential partnership option may look like. How does that sound to you? And just let them respond to that. Now they know right away why you want to visit. You have set the purpose for your meeting. The first purpose is this: you want to reconnect with them. You want to hear about how their marriage is going, how their kids are doing, how life is going for them. You also want to share with them what God is calling you to. And so there's the dual purpose, and you just accomplish that right away. The principle is this: that nobody likes surprises, right? If you don't establish that purpose as you're setting up that time to meet, that specific date, time, and place, then it's going to be an awkward transition when you try to get to the next thing. And so be clear on your purpose. The reason why you want to meet is because you want to reconnect with them. And also you want to be able to share with them what God is calling you to next. Okay, so you got the math, you got real hard concrete numbers, you have a meeting that you've set up, and now you get to the actual meetup. Okay, this is where you actually get together and sit down. And here's the goal: as you get down to them, you sit down together, you have your cup of coffee or your tea or whatever it is. The goal is to listen to their story. And then to be able to share your story. If you're familiar with YFC and the three rings that we have, it's all about sharing stories and hearing other people's stories so that you can then earn the right to be heard to share your story with others. Okay, so listen to their story. If you're having coffee, make it your goal to ask enough questions so that you can finish your coffee before they have even started their coffee. All right, and that's just a little trick I picked up from the Navigators years ago when I worked with them. Is you want to be the one asking questions on the front half of that meeting and just talking with them for a little bit. And then when the moment is right, you can turn the corner and you can begin to share with them your story. Here's another principle that I want to share with you: is this, that people give to people and to vision. They want to give to people that they know, that they like, and that they trust. And hopefully, if God is calling you to this, you are already somebody that people are going to kind of know. They're going to trust you, and they just flat like you. And if they like you and they trust you, man, that is a huge win that's going to take you a lot closer to your goal a lot faster. Okay, so people give to people, but they just don't give to people. They also give to vision. Okay. This is your opportunity, right? When that conversation turns and it's now your turn to share your story, this is your moment. This is your opportunity to share your vision with this person. And so you let it pour. You let your passion pour out. You make it real. You make it genuine. It's not contrived, okay? And what's real for me is not going to be what's real for you. So you know when somebody is authentic. You know when somebody is genuine. And you just intuitively are going to know whether or not they're being sincere, okay? This is your vision. You have to know your why. Why are you doing this? Why are you uniquely qualified for this ministry? And you need to know it inside and out, forwards and backwards. And your story needs to be compelling. But eventually, you're going to need to get to the brass tacks. What is it really going to take? Okay? And this is where the earlier M from before is going to prove super, super helpful. You're going to pull those numbers in. This is the keep it simple, stupid, the KISS principle, okay? Don't share with them the nitty-gritty details, but just say, what is it going to take to get you to the field? Brass tacks, keep it simple, don't give more information than is required, and then you ask them, would you consider, are you in a position right now to join our monthly partnership team? And then be quiet and let them answer. I believe that people not only give to people, they also give to vision, but I also believe people want to say yes to something. People want to say yes to something. And so I start with the financial. Would you be willing? Are you in a position right now, prayerfully, where you might be able to join our partnership team and stack hands with us and lock arms with us as we reach military kids, or as we reach this goal, this vision that God has given us? Are you in a position to do that right now? People want to say yes to something. Some people aren't going to be in a position. And listen, if somebody comes back to you and says, no, I can't do that right now. I can't even make a one-time gift. I can't make a monthly contribution. You cannot take this personally. It's okay. They're not rejecting you. All they're saying is that at this time, I'm not in a position to be able to do that, and that's all right. So if they can't do that, then I say, hey, well, maybe we're gonna be sending out monthly updates, all right? And I would love to stay connected with you in some way. Is there any way you would be interested in receiving those monthly updates? And people want to say yes to something. The likelihood of them saying yes is very high, and you might be able to get them on a newsletter list so that they can stay connected. And as they get ministry reports from you and hear about what God is doing, maybe later in 12 months from now, maybe they will be in a position where they can join your monthly partnership team. But because you've stayed in contact with them through your updates, they know how to make that giving possible, and it's easier to stay in touch. But somebody may say, no, I'm just not even interested in that, Then you say, well, perhaps you would know somebody who has an interest in what I'm doing, and maybe ask for a referral, and that would be great too. So there it is. It's the 3 M's for a successful appointment, and I hope that this has been helpful to you, and I wish you the absolute best as you start your fundraising journey. Take care, and God bless.